Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much. Good evening and welcome to what is the last Kelly in the current series. Mind you, we still have a bit to go before we finally say goodbye for the summer, though. So for the next hour and a half or so, sit back and relax while we bring you the very best of entertainment. And we start with a man who was actually booked to appear in Kelly a couple of months back, but who unfortunately couldn't make it then. But he did promise that he would come over before the end of the series. Well, he is a man of his word, and I'm delighted to say that he has made it tonight. Would you please give a big welcome to the brilliant Robin Gibb. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
It's a pleasure.
It's been difficult. It's been a very difficult time for you and your family
Yeah.
this past 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, it's been very difficult.
Has it taken much out of you all?
It's taken a lot because it was so unexpected. You know, with Morris going, it's because it was so fast and something that we felt was totally unnecessary because of what happened. And you know, when you lose somebody really close, I don't think you know what it's like until you experience it. Other people can talk about it. But when it happens to yourself, it changes you. It turns you into a different person. But it's been it's been very hard. Obviously, it's been
health-wise too. It's taken a bit of a toll on you.
Well, health-wise, just on my on my nerves because I've been preoccupied with a whole new situation. It's not just like losing a colleague, that you've been working with, because this is a twin brother. I've been with you all your life, so I was in shock. I was in total shock.
I noticed just after his death, you seem to immerse yourself in work.
Yeah.
Was it, looking back on it now, 3 months after the time, was that a good idea or a bad idea, do you think?
Well, it depends how you look at it. A lot of people would look at it as a bad idea and probably bad taste, but I saw it as a sort of survival thing, to keep myself sane. If I sat still and did nothing, I'd keep thinking about it all the time, and that wasn't good either. So I had to do something that was going to take me out of it. It didn't, of course, but it's just something, it was action, and I needed that.
Because you were a twin, was there a special bond there, a different bond than with you and your other brothers?
I think the bond, we've always had, the three of us have always had a special bond, because we've always been songwriters from early childhood. We've always been creating things, and it was a kind of this world that we lived in of creativity ever since we were children. And we were almost like triplets in a way. So it wasn't like Barry was separate from me and Morris. So the three of us were extremely close, but obviously there's that aspect of being born together and doing everything together, and there are times always, at night we were always together. We slept in the same bed as babies, so you are a twin. And it is a strange feeling, just, not having him in the world anymore.
Your grief, it's difficult enough to cope with grief privately. Yeah. But because of who you are, you had to cope with your grief very publicly. Yeah,
I think also, a lot of people, and I think when people are in the public eye, people who like Morris and his work tend to remember him in a different way than I would. I obviously, when I go to bed at night, all the memorial services in the world, don't really end it for me. Yes, I wake up to the reality of Mo not being in the world every day, and it's a life sentence. I live with that. So, but I remember Morris, the person and the man that I, and the child, of course, the boy that I knew all my life, and that's the person I'm going to miss, not Morris the musician, and and the great talent that he was, and that I loved and was inspired by. But it's also that person that no one else knew, that only I could know.
Of course.
And I'm sure there are many people in the world that have lost people, and people that are very close to them that feel the same as me, and it's not a unique thing. It's because you don't miss the person for what they are professionally. When you're working with, you miss the person.
Have you got through that grieving process, though? Have you been allowed to grieve privately?
I don't know how one addresses grief, because I don't know how to. I've never really gone through this before, and I think grief is a kind of phase. It's a wave. It goes in waves. There are days where you feel fine about it and you can accept it and you think you're over it, and then there are nights where it just hits you with this total disbelief. So grief is an ongoing process that could probably last you all your life. There's no such thing as as time will make it better. Time will not make it better. Time just pushes it to a certain point in your mind. And I'm sure there's a lot of people will tell you the same thing, that it becomes a compartment that you pull out every now and again. But sometimes it can sneak up on you.
Yes, yes.
And it is a process.
You mentioned earlier that at the time the family was very upset. You felt for a while that he really shouldn't have died the way he did. Do you still feel that?
Absolutely, yeah. He had a very he had a very common ailment which could have been fixed by a routine operation, and is a routine operation. And in our eyes, it was total negligence right down the line, from doctor right through to the. But beginning with the doctor, it was total negligence.
And can you do anything about it?
Well, yes, you can. We can't bring him back. That's the problem. That's the only result that anyone would like in anything. You can only get your revenge by punishing those people that you feel did the mistakes. But obviously, again, you know, that is a process. That would be a legal process, and that's real.
Are you going to go through that legal process?
I think we are. Yes, I think we are. I think we have to.
That makes it all the more.
But to make it safe for other people.
I understand, but it makes the whole thing even sadder in many ways.
Well, it does. It's totally unnecessary.
Yeah.
Because there are many people that suffered from what Morris did, and were out in a few days. You know, just a routine operation.
You've had huge success, and you know, like Morris, I'm sure Morris's death brings back the painful memories of your other brother's death, Andy, back in 1988.
Yes, that was Andy, of course, and he was a lot younger as well. And again, you know, it's another death that was totally unnecessary. But the sad thing, Andy was never part of the group, but he was eventually going to be a part. And but it was always. He always felt that he wanted to do things on his own, and he was just starting. I think he wanted to do things that weren't always associated with music. I think he wanted to be a pilot and things like that. But he, you know, he had those dreams just before he died. But it's always sad when somebody young dies.
Do you feel in any way you're, maybe a silly question, but in some way you've been punished for all the success that you've enjoyed?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it certainly seems unkind, and you wouldn't have thought that it would happen to two people. And Morris is still relatively young in his life to be taken away, and it doesn't feel right. And it's particularly sad because you know this could have been prevented. Morris definitely could have been prevented.
Morris would obviously want you to continue with music, you and Barry. Yeah. But I mean, what happens to Bee Gees? Do we hear that name again?
Well, it's with Morris going, me and Barry have sort of half and half decided whether or not to continue with the name, or just keep it in history as where it is with Morris, or to carry on as Barry and Robin, as writers and producers, and not necessarily doing things together. With that scenario changes and goes back and forth over the weeks, because you've got to remember it's still only 12 weeks since Morris died, so it's still relatively early in what we feel is going to be the right way to go. So we're still making up our minds about that.
You've a solo album out of the moment. Has the heart been knocked out of that for you though?
The heart's been knocked out of my whole world. It's hard to imagine what I've been feeling over these last few weeks. It's just been soul destroying. Everything that you do and everything around you takes on a different meaning. It's almost like life's a joke and trick, an illusion, as it were. Almost you question everything, and I think this is a normal thing that people go through.
I would have thought so.
Because you just had somebody taken away from you, and you work so hard and long for something, and then they leave, and you no longer feel like you can share anything. Where you've got something happen, you feel like picking up the phone and talking to Morris while he's not there anymore. So there's lots of hundreds of things that go. But
you're now going to promote the new album?
Yeah.
You've decided to work again and to immerse yourself in it.
That's what Morris would have wanted. I think I have to do that.
I would have thought so. This is your 5th solo album.
Yeah,
is it important for you to, throughout your career, to have kept your own identity as well as with the Bee Gees?
Well, it's not just to keep an identity or even a separate career. It's just to do things for the sake of action. I like to create and get in the studio and do things. And if there's another way of doing it that isn't the Bee Gees as well, then I'll go and do it as a solo artist.
How's your wife, Dweena, by the way?
She's very well. She's in Miami writing at the moment so she's doing some Irish plays for the New York stage.
In case people don't know, Dweena comes from County Tyrone.
Yeah,
She's a Tyrone woman.
Yeah, she is.
She's a Tyrone woman. She was on the show a few years back.
Here for Kilskerry.
From Kilskerry, County Tyrone. Do you get a chance to come over to Northern Ireland?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, you are a frequent visitor. You sneak in and sneak out
Sneak in and out.
without letting anyone know. Robin, as you know, time is a great healer, and we hope that time will heal.
Thanks very
what
much.
you're feeling at the moment.
That's very kind.
You are going to sing for us a track from that album, isn't
it? Yes. It's
it? Very appropriate song.
Yes, Love Hurts. Yeah.
Love Hurts.
That's it.
Robin, thanks for coming.
Thanks very much.
Thanks. Robin Gibb, ladies and gentlemen.